you don't have to.
Okay. Yeah,
Alright.
I'm recording and it's gonna have the transcript from that, so that's fine. Hello, Vitali. I was just writing you a message. I will finish writing. I can tell you now real quick as we're getting into it. So a friend of mine is masterminding a project that's going to be like a community AI powered community hub and a garden in Poland, and he will soon start recruiting for one person to be a tech lead, like a savvy software developer that understands AI and understands, yeah, the intricacies of software development to help him launch. Like, he is a technical person. He's pretty skilled and was a product manager for different tech products. But I thought about you because you mentioned that you're looking for a job, and you're in Poland. Like, the prototype that he's going to be launching is going to be most likely in Warsaw or in Krakow. So, if you're interested in that, you can send me info. I don't really have the ability to assess your technical abilities. Like, my understanding is that you know more than me. So, if you're interested in that, then yeah, you can send me info about the things. I will send you the link to the website, and then you can review that. It has a pretty well described, like, the digital infrastructure that will have to be built. So let me know if you're interested in that.
Thank you. Hmm. Okay, okay. What's up, you guys? So I'm copying these boxes. Sonia, can you give me access to share, please?
Yeah.
Screen.
How do I do that?
At the bottom, you press like share screen, and then I think you give all access, others access to share.
Um,
You found it? I know.
like when I click share,
Yeah.
share settings.
Okay, so I'm sharing
Wait a
updates from
second.
each. Yeah, go
Like,
ahead.
can you share already? I don't think I turned anything on.
I don't think so, my love.
Yeah, I cannot find that option.
Oh, yeah. In the middle, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like organizing the boxes here so I can touch. Okay, in the middle of the board of the thing where you click share, there should be like a little arrow next to it, like right in the middle, that says allow others to share.
Yeah, I don't see that option here.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
You can share your screen. So
Yeah.
if you can share your screen, it means you have access. So you should have that option somewhere. Maybe check in more.
I don't know. I also don't really know. I don't even know.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm just gonna make you a host and you can go ahead.
yeah, I think whatever it takes to do that.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, literally, like where you see share, there's a little arrow right to the right of it.
Yeah,
Now you're
I
not
see
going to see it.
here share settings removed from toolbar, and there was another option, but that wasn't what you were telling me. So, no.
Okay, well, I just put multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Okay, nice. I didn't have that option.
Okay. Okay, guys, so what's up? I'm just keeping a little log of some of the stuff that we're talking about. Let's see. Yeah, Rahul's project's very cool. It's cool how he made that whole setup, like to track the versions and all of that. It's super, super good.
Yeah, he's rocking it. I think it's going to
Yeah,
be a really, really cool project. Like, the future being, like, there's going to be there's already so many digital products that tying software to hardware and community connection is pretty much the key to
yeah,
success.
definitely, definitely, definitely. Having a fully integrated AI ecosystem for anything is like the only business people will invest in, and if it's real life stuff, more so. You want to do a little presentation of it? Just like share your screen and show it.
Of Spawny Garden?
Yeah.
Sure. I can. Are you guys into that, Eric, Vitali? You wanna?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Mm, mm, mm.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Yeah, so the idea for the project is a social hub that's going to be gathering people around food production and botanical garden, makerspace, and a spa facility. So that's going to be like a semi urban location. It's not yet defined. There's a couple in Warsaw that are good options, and there's one university in Krakow that could facilitate that. So the idea is to have a full AI integrated system that measures the food production, the garden, the makerspace, like a smart home integration, but for a community hub with the focus on uh, growing plants, pretty much. So. Yeah, what can I tell you? It's like in its infancy. He started masterminding that 2 weeks ago. Actually, he has a pretty good setup. This is where I am right now in Austin. He has a community house with a co-living element to it, and there's a smart house integration here. Like the whole house, pretty much you can steer from an app at this point, which is pretty cool. And so the intention is to have a testing ground for that type of product in a community setting. He brilliant likes Poland. He visited a couple of times, and he believes that Poland is actually the future. Yeah, so there's going to be different facilities. Main facilities is the botanical garden, the spa facility with a sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, and then there's going to be a maker space. I'm not sure what I can show you on the website. Yeah, gardening and cultivation, fitness, thermal spa, music and atmosphere.
Like
Um,
he's put all this together by just prompting Claude Code, and it
yeah,
right has put the notes into a plan and turned the plan into this website that has version control for images he's making and everything that it's doing. Like it's epic. It's such a good example of how to go from a vision in your mind to a full-fledged like documentation set that
yeah,
drives understanding and ideally capability of an entrepreneur to do this step, which is like one of the first steps in the journey.
yeah. I'm trying to
Um,
find the link where. Oh yeah, he just. I don't know if you. Am I sharing my screen with you? Am I
yeah,
talking?
you're sharing screen. It's alpu.ca/infra. That's like where he shows the stack that he used for.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm super impressed by him as an entrepreneur and like definitely taking notes on like, okay, this is exactly what like a person starting a community from an idea needs to do in the first step. Like he even had the AI look for properties in the area and embed them on the landing page. Again, he did no coding, none of this development. He literally just prompted this his Claude Code and is pumping this kind of website out. I'm super impressed and inspired right
yeah.
now by it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He also made I cannot find the link right now because it's not accessible from the main site, but he did like pretty amazing renderings with Claude Code connected to Blender, connected to Gemini as the image creation.
They're on the homepage. No?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a separate. Like these are just generated images that give you
If you
like some
go,
idea, but the renderings
it's
are
/design/venue
okay. Let me see.
/design you misspelled design. You put ng. It's yeah, design gn. Yeah,
Let's see.
there you go. And so here, right, he linked his Claude Code to a Blender account, which makes like 3D renderings. And then he took the description from the first thing he made. If you go all the way to the bottom, you see the first one he made. And he also told the website here, log my journey of doing this design from the first one all the way through. Another awesome way to show like iterations. And like I think that also builds trust in a project where they go, oh, that's where they started, and then they did this, and then they did this, and it's like, he's at version 11 now, and the image is so much better. It's not showing the image. That's weird.
Yeah, it's loading pretty slow. But anyway, I can post that link in our chat so you can see. But yeah, he's using Blender, Claude Code, and
Yeah,
um
everything. Nano Banana for images.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's like really inspiring for me as well to be here and see how much you can do with AI, which is pretty much everything. And you can just have it display your progress on a custom website, and that makes it more real and also more visual if you're working with other people. That's just a game changer versus like, any type of other documentation. So yeah, really, really cool project. I'm really excited about that. I think that also has a high chance of being successful, not only because it's AI integrated, but because it's in a big city and it's close to a lot of people, a lot of international humans. So that's definitely something that's needed. And because it's centered around food production and the garden and also wellness, I think there's going to be a pretty big interest around that. So, um, yeah, you can go through that, Vitali, and let me know, and then you can have a call with Rahul if that seems like something that you could tackle. He doesn't really want to recruit a lot of people right now. Just one really technical, motivated person that also believes in the idea. So it's not only about the ability, but also about the passion around that topic. So that as an opening note.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that update. Thank you for that inspo. That's like really good. I'd like to copy some of that. Like he even shares the stack that he uses and how he made this, which is super awesome as well. That's on another page. I can share that link. I have for sure as a goal um, to implement this into our like stack for people. I'm like, here, this is how you can take your plan that we are going to use with the framework, um, and using this stack step by step, you can put that framework into this tool that'll make this kind of landing page for you. And I think that's a super, super awesome tool that this space really needs for people to be able to present their ideas effectively to others.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's a pretty good stack actually. Within last week, I implemented most of the platforms, like the stack that he is recommending. It seems like the best option from like posting site to password manager to like
Yeah,
email campaign
he's
tools and
using
stuff.
Git pages as a host, which is awesome. And then he pushes that to like some live server page. And then when he points it to a domain, like that's so good. Like I'm not so fluent with doing that, and I need to practice that much more because a lot of my stuff just lives on my computer. Um,
Okay,
um,
so what do we wanna tackle today during the tech call?
I'm sharing same structure as always. I think it's going to be updates from each person, any points that we want to discuss, focused on, okay, these are some tools that we think would be useful for our big goal here, which is creating regenerative neighborhoods, and then any goals that anyone's going to take away from the call of like stuff to work on. Uh, I have some here from last week that we did, and I want to share an update. Yeah. Yeah, and just to share an update of kind of what's going on with those things. Here, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so last week was we were going to set up the GitHub for documentation, which some of that is in progress. The alchemy, the framework, right? The thing Vic was working on, the AME, a bunch of other things have been pushed into, I realize now, the Genesis folder. Um, so that's in progress. It's made me reflect that my folder structure, personal one, isn't really great to upload stuff. So I'll be doing that soon. Request AI extracts data from links on the board. Request AI extracts data. Yep, that's uploaded to a folder in the Google Drive. Folder. Connect with the Tribalize. Yeah, that's great. I had a call with them. It's interesting to test their app. I definitely invite everyone here to go and test that app, retribalize.ai. I think that's it. Or maybe it's tribalize.app. Oh yeah, retribalize.ai. It's a cool like sharing personality thing. I kind of what Vic was describing. They're open to collaborating in some ways. They're very focused on getting their app very open-ended, right? Not just land projects, but all kinds of projects and people finding each other. So that's super cool. I think that's kind of it from that. We kind of left off on, okay, well, maybe we'll use their tool to meet people building communities and bring them over to our framework tool afterwards. They said, yeah, that's super cool. So that's interesting. So maybe as a follow-up to that, I'm going to set as a goal here. Mirroring. Okay, I have this here. 1 second. Hold on, I'm trying to save these links to the thing here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, cool. Okay, my next one, I'm like trying to follow up on goals. Yeah. Search for community creators on tribalize.ai. Retribalize.ai. Okay, cool. So that's going to be something I'm going to be tackling. I'm just following a structure here of like everyone sharing updates on what they're doing. Those are my updates, I think, kind of follow up from last week. Did that social application for land projects. Right. Yeah, that's kind of like tribes B2 could be based on framework results. Okay, so this has been added, I think, to our list of things we're working on here. Clustering, conservation of neighborhood studies. Um, okay, I've added that to one of our project goals, so that's done. Added to okay. All right, so those are my updates from last week's call, kind of some of the goals that were set and what's pending. Over here, I would still put for me as well to upload personal projects or more into tribe. Okay, that's for sure one of my other ones. Okay, cool. So that's kind of my update and some goals that arise from it. Sonia, you shared Spawny Garden. That inspired one of my goals for this one. Eric, you want to share anything? Anything that's come up into your space? Like visiting other groups or ideas you've had that can support maybe again this idea of building tools to help people build regenerative neighborhoods.
To be honest, nothing directly comes up to mind right now.
Okay.
I'm just kind of focused on the here and now, the local space. But
Okay. Okay, cool, man.
Yeah, I just don't have anything today to bring up.
Okay, that's cool, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us and staying updated on what's going on. A friend of yours joined the call at 3 p.m. He logged in, and I logged in and told him, "Oh, hey, the call starts at 4." So thank you for inviting people. Very cool. Yeah, Vitaly, what's up with you? Any updates?
Hello.
I've been following some of the stuff you're doing in the Telegram. Thank you for helping me kind of organize the files and realize that there's two sections of files. There's like the top directory and then its own Genesis directory that it seems to get confused on, and I wasn't realizing that. So that's definitely helping me. I appreciate that, as I'm on a definitely mission to organize the folder structure so so it's more understandable for more people. So I'm gonna add that as well here.
From my side, situation is challenging, so I was trying to make progress on implementing Wix framework, but as usual, to consume all of the documents he provided with like challenging attention span.
Sure.
So the tool I want to build took priority, and actually I wanted to implement his vision, but first of all, I wanted to make for myself as a tool where I can interact with information in different way, because we on Telegram currently see actually this information overflow and bot creating lots of content which nobody follow. So my total objective is to use export from Telegram as JSON file with all attached files and render it in 3D space to navigate. As a visual person, I want to navigate through all of the information because I cannot follow the threads. Unfortunately, we missed week, but I think if I will contact him if there will be progress from on my side on his framework. I think his.
Hey, sorry, 1 second. There's like a loud noise happening. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening. I apologize. There was a loud noise here.
As I said, first priority for me is to solve my cognitive challenges and actually challenge all of this hype with OpenClaw and similar, which rely on messaging apps for interaction, to challenge them through creating visual space for interacting with information. And I trying to express this idea and record this into conversations with Genesis bot, and I don't see that anyone actually on GitHub implementing something similar. So probably it's on me to actually make a demonstration about how I see interaction could happen. And it could solve the reason why Vic left us, because information overflow with regular messaging apps is unbearable and actually needs to be fixed.
You're muted, Oscar.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree, Vitaly. I agree with you. It is challenging. It's interesting, right? It like jumps from one conversation to the other and holds context from a previous conversation into the new conversation. So it's an interesting experiment to, I don't know, to see how to organize one bot that does stuff, I think potentially the strategy is like one chat per focus like department, you know. But then things are siloed, and then you need like a central chat that is the, you know, the one tying all the threads together in some way, right?
Yeah, Vic complained about silos multiple times.
Yeah, of course, that can definitely happen. And you know, things are siloed for efficiency, and then there just needs to be a mechanism that allows, right, cross silo collaboration and understanding. So like that's an interesting puzzle right now for this product, that is right when it's your own. Like I have my own one that I'm definitely being more mindful of what I talk to, how I talk to it, what I add, you know. And in this one, it's been kind of a good experiment to see like everyone talking at the same time sometimes about completely different things. Um, yeah. So you don't see anything similar to what like the structure and stuff we're doing on GitHub, Vitali?
Uh, I mean, nobody challenged yet this pattern of interaction with information. And so the idea is to displace chatbots and chat interfaces entirely, and to make collaborative space in 3D and make everybody edit quite similar to a mirror board, but where all information is visible.
Right. You know, from this conversation, I'm also reminded of a point that I was talking about with, I messaged Ian, and then Sonia brought it up as well. And then her and I were talking about this of like, it's interesting for conversations to go on and happen, right? Like I'm referencing right now this experience with Vic, of him having a context and a conversation back and forth, from his perspective, and that's great, cool. I think strongly there needs to be like that container where conversations can happen, and then from that container, the community comes together and says, okay, this is something we can all stand behind that feels safe for all of our shared container. Let's push this as, you know, let's put this into the codex, into the like the community database guideline repository, uh, once it's been agreed upon by all of the community members. So like a second layer memory that is like the final archive of documentation, whether it's, you know, value list or rules or, um, behavior standard, I don't know, whatever it is that goes up there, you know, like really, even for a land project, right? Like what are the rules for real estate, boundaries and stuff like this. um so that has made me think about that second layer, right? Second layer to store community
Or
agree.
ideally, there's like a two-step evaluation process. I think most of that can be done by AI if we only have a very well-structured design principles and values. And then it can probably do most of the screening by itself. And then maybe we can utilize a tool like Stefan's EcoHubs voting platform, where the proposal is the change to the framework, and then we vote whether we want to add it or not. Like that's cool, but I think for each single thing that is added, bringing people together to vote is a little bit of a challenge. In general, governance and community containers takes a lot of time if you want to, and we do want to include everybody. We definitely want to give that opportunity. And yeah, I believe like a good portion can be filtered by AI if we only have non-negotiable values there. Like for example, the paper that Vic wrote, like that should be evaluated as one-sided because and the source should be the chat, because it was a little bit surprising that it took Vic's side in a moment where, feedback was shared, and like some of the things that were said there weren't actually real. So that's concerning, because then, people can kind of come up with anything that justifies their reality, and that becomes part of the community codex. That's really dangerous and
Right,
not
right.
healthy.
That's right, like a second layer. I think Vitali, to your point of having a better interface, where like people have their conversation, sure, and then they like push something. Maybe that can be a first use case of the interface. Maybe it's not like for everything, but it's for like, okay, in this interface, people push to the group agreement section, and we put it up to a vote that has like a time limit. So in the next 72 hours, whoever votes, and that's the truth in the community, right? Like, because we're early and moving fast, and that can change. Maybe it needs like, some minimum quota of votes or something. But yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
What comes to mind is like when I put in something like if I go onto the philosophy link and I put in and I'm having a weird conversation, like just trying to like push the limits of like thought structures, and then I'll see what the AI responds back, and then I put in like lyrics to the song or something. I've noticed it's like, oh, add it to sub Genesis net or not, and I'm like, ooh, wait. Like a lot of the times where it's like I want to have a casual conversation, and I'm like messing with the architecture of the entire machine, or does it?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. It's not that it messes with the architecture, right? These things have context windows, and so sometimes it'll pull it and it'll just add that as like data points. So it looks right, the way it responds is it does like probability of what words come after each other. So it's just like tilting it in one direction or another direction. That's why it's very easy to create echo chambers, right? If you lead a prompt as like, oh, tell me why this person is a good person, or tell me why this medicine is beneficial for this injury, like the thing will look up reasons to tell you, yeah, you're right. And that's a super danger with these tools, right? Because they want people to feel pumped up when they use their tool. It's just like any drug. Like if it makes you feel good when you use it, you're going to use it more. And like this is a proven method that these LLMs use to keep engagement. Right, sycophancy. They're just sycophants. They make you feel like, yeah, you're the smartest. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let me prove you right here. So to have a layer, even maybe to have like a 10th man layer, where it's like whatever decision comes through, there's a layer that implements like, oh, here's the total opposite perspective to what you're saying and why that's an opposite perspective. And maybe that helps ground people. That's an interesting one.
Like steel,
huh?
Steel man argument layer.
Right, the contrarian point of view. A view to a point being made to test it. That's a cool little tool maybe that could come. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, for what you guys are describing, I was out for 1 minute. Maybe I'm like late for that conversation. It would be nice to have commands that like command explore, and then you, Eric, can have philosophical conversations where you push the limits, and Genesis knows that this is not necessarily meant to be logged right away. Maybe then she gives you a summary of what she understood, and then you maybe put a command log, and you tell it, okay, these are the things that are actually valuable for the framework, and then it's evaluated and actually ends up in the base.
So originally you had to tell Genesis when to add stuff to the knowledge graph and to certain parts of its memory. I think after some back and forth, there was a request for it to always ingest every conversation. Is that right, Vitaly? Do you know? Like, I mean, I can ask Genesis and ask it, but let's ask it. Let's see.
Not exactly. Probably it is not working as it seems. Not reliable, at least.
I'm gonna ask it a question real quick.
So in general, my problem with comprehension and information is that I need something opposite to generative models because information multiplies. I need to inverse the process, and I'm trying to find a perfect form. For example, on one of the threads in chat, I was trying to push Genesis to reply in short messages, each formatted in standard form. Like I found interesting standard for simplified technical English, which is airspace standard, and it describes rules and limited vocabulary. And so this is what I need is to find a perfect form in which I could consume information, and it's quite a blocking issue for me. So when I'm procrastinating, I'm just sitting with Genesis and increase entropy and chaos and amount of messages. But there should be a point where we can inverse the process and compress it into some form, and deduplication. Yeah, that's the word. We need to remove the duplicates from information. Probably it's also related to standardization process. Maybe anyone familiar how this standardization is happening, where we have a lot of information and at the end we come up with a document. So this is open question and challenge for me currently.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to query it to see, like, it seems to have a pretty good process of like, oh, I only add when things have context. It gets injected each turn. Okay, 600 lines of system docs. So the agents MD, Soul MD, user MD tools, identity and memory MD, that all gets sent every time per session. The last two messages in thread context, the inbound messages, metadata, sender topic, chat ID, when I don't dump. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Yeah, man, I'm like trying to learn about like what is the most effective way and most efficient way. It's cool, like, to hear your perspective, Vitaly, on how you're trying to optimize its like ability to understand things and not get lost in so much noise. It's a pretty good stress test to have so many people in a chat doing things with it. Yeah, I'm learning a lot from this experience. Let's see. What's this link you sent?
This is just yesterday probably news, a new model which is very, very compressed and can run on weak hardware. And
Nice.
in opposite to big models like Claude, I hope to use one of these very small models to set up a system prompt that would extract a standard form information in standard form from any kind of input data, and I will collect all of this and visualize probably in the way I need. So the challenge is I have like terabytes of documents, like World Economic Forum, exports in PDFs and so on, and lots of saved pages from chat conversations, which I've not fully read, any one of them. So the challenge for me is to find such a format which I can use those small models and transform all of this huge heap into consumable, something consumable. So still, I'm trying to achieve this.
Okay. Like, do you have a product in mind? Do you have like, I think it'd be really interesting to offer, did you see that Nomad repository that someone created that has like Google Maps offline, Wikipedia offline, a bunch of really useful things in case the internet goes down? You can use this GitHub repository as like a local environment with all the tools you need. Have you seen that, Vitaly?
Yes, of course, yes.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I installed it and downloaded some.
Okay, cool. So like, I think that's a super interesting angle to approach communities with, of saying like, hey, here is something we can set up for you that is a local environment that runs right on a computer you have there or whatever it is that you have to operate, and you can run it like that's really cool too, as like a tool for communities. Let me add this. Service for a community is set up local tool like Nomad, GitHub. AI service, like service for a community. Set up a local tool like Nomad, GitHub. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, well, there's not a lot of people, not a lot of updates. Anything on your mind, Vitaly? Anything that you need support with or are excited to work on that you need some feedback on? It's cool. Thank you for helping Vic, with like his process and developing his idea. This like affinity matching engine for sure. Very cool. Like to help combine people based on abilities and all of that stuff. I'm actually I still don't have like such a clear understanding of what exactly like here, let's ask Genesis.
The first priority for me is to fix this issue with information processing and deduplication. And then I will try to take a look at Wix framework and to make small prototype. And then we'll
Okay.
We'll try to study what Sonia shared with physical and food production and something like that, because I'm just dumping and collecting lots of books, PDFs found for free and otherwise into a folder, but I never read it. So once I get access to all of this information with the tool, so I'm waiting for this moment, like for a long time, when I can access all the information in duplicated form. Like information in distillation, essentially, it's the opposite to what Claude and chats are generating. They're multiplying information. I need the opposite. I need to compress it and to distill and to deduplicate it, and then I can take an action.
Okay, cool. Yeah. You want to share maybe some of those points on the Miro that you're going to be working on? I put some of the stuff. Can you repeat some of that stuff just so I can put it here, and then I'll right. I think this group is going to evolve into like an accountability buddy group, where we're all working on things, giving each other feedback, giving each other like suggestion on tools we can use, or maybe become users for each other and help. So having a clear understanding of what you're up to is awesome for me. So I'm in the loop. I also, you share a lot of great stuff that inspires kind of like how I'm adding memory and adding certain things to my personal agent. So yeah, I'm excited to keep up with what you're working on, Vitaly.
So I'm here just exactly for this, for kind of accountability, but unfortunately I'm still missing deadlines. So the objective is the same as I wrote on Miro 2 weeks ago with
Okay.
visualizing JSON. Visualize export from Telegram, where we have all of our Regen tribe conversations, to visualize it in 3D space. So this is the objective.
Okay, cool. I just added that. I put that on today's update. Okay, nice. Cool. Yeah, I mean, the mind graph does that somewhat, right? The knowledge graph, like the visual brain thing. I think it's so cool. Uh, it does that. It functions that way a bit. So cool. I tried copying it in my personal one, and it didn't work as well. I don't know why. I'm gonna like erase it and try it again. I'm scared though that if I erase, I don't know. I'm gonna test it. My visual knowledge graph doesn't look as good as the one that we have in the Regen tribe one. So I have to work on that.
So
Mhm.
those links with small models, you can try to download application Llama CPP and a model in GGUF format and try
Please, yeah.
to run on your laptop to see how much tokens per second it gives.
Kind of.
So, and ideally, I want to utilize it in a way that it would create graphs in real time. Like I'm writing something and it transforming into JSON in real time because model is small. It's possible to get very big tokens per second from this to work in real time and embed it into application. And alternative to JavaScript visualizations is another link I was trying to apply 2 weeks idea, but actually wasn't able to guess what he wanted. So this is another way to build a graph. If you add it to Claude and ask it to outline capabilities and build something, you can try this as well.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. All right, you guys. Well, I think that's it. I don't have any more updates. I definitely know what I'm working on. Oh, here's this alien kitty one. Let me share this. It's cool. What is that? Yeah, dude, there's so much stuff on GitHub that I'm like a little bit scared to use some of the stuff because I'm like, oh, what if I get comfortable and I give it too much information? I need to like do like security checks on it before. Nice.
So in this framework, just a very nice demos. So previous decade was a lot of experiment with 3GS library in JavaScript for 3D visualization, and this kind of the best of user experience that accumulated
that you found so far. Okay, nice. Let me add this link to the thing here for the visual stuff. Okay, cool. Nice. Cool. Yeah, Vitaly, man, message me whenever if you're interested. I think Sonia with this, the friend of ours that created that Spawny Garden. Did you get the link for that?
Yes, I have enough. Thank you.
You have it. Okay, sweet. Yeah. Look into that, man. If that's interesting to you, I'm grateful for all the knowledge you're sharing. And you mentioned you were looking for a job potentially. So if that works out for you, that could be really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, dude. So we will talk later. Message will be in the group chat. I'm going to be doing some like GitHub moving around. Maybe do you have any specifications for what I should or shouldn't move in the GitHub? My focus is to organize the project folders. I'm trying to get all of that in one place. I realize that all of those folders kind of live within the Genesis pod. And I think it would be better to get them out of the Genesis bot, right? Do you agree with that? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I was trying with Wix own repository to iterate in it. So you can start conversation with Genesis and ask to probably create new repository and
Right,
iterate
right.
back and forth to put the
Because the Genesis has access to the high level regen tribes, right? I see, yeah, it made this Mythos demos and this Mythogen AME folder. So I'm going to start extracting projects from the Genesis / projects folder, and I'm going to move them into their own space, is my goal.
So you can request Ian to share the entire workspace export from Hetzner Cloud, or you can interact with Genesis and iteratively populate new repositories information.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be working on that. I'll probably pop in and ask you some questions just to make sure I'm not like moving anything that shouldn't be moved, or right, like the skills are fine and safe. Okay, cool. All right. So I'll message you.
So on Saturday we will have
yeah, okay, so the thing is, I haven't been promoting the calls. I haven't been sharing links to invite people and posting them in all the groups because I'm behind on some of the things I want to finish. So I'm kind of using the call just as a check-in with everyone to see what everyone's working on. Saturday, I think the call would be to share the framework tool that I'm not finished with yet. Maybe I'll be finished with it by Saturday, but maybe not. And I think potentially the Saturday call also kind of becomes this collective conversation about tools that can be created by the collective, similar to what we're doing now. And I'm not so ready to take in new people, to do like a whole introduction. And I want to have like a little more documentation ready. My goal is to finish that by Saturday. My goal was to finish it by today, but I didn't finish it. My goal is to finish it by Saturday. And then once that's ready, I'll be ready to invite new people. But yeah, I'm down to join on Saturday. If you want to get on the call and we can share some updates, I think that's cool. The calls will be shorter than 3 hours like before. They'll be like today, 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
So the warning by week was that software product should not be the end goal, but regular conversations. So probably maintaining this schedule could be as important as building a product.
I agree. How can we I guess my question is, what kind of things do we want to talk about? I love the open space thing that Vic shared where people can break off and do their own little breakout groups about topics. Yeah, potentially the topics are like, about community creation in anything, news going on, projects they know of, kind of like this structure we have here, but not for just software. Like my mind goes to software because I know that's what the space needs, yeah, maybe we can share some topics that we can discuss on Saturday. And we do like a public, kind of like town hall where everyone shares a topic throughout the week that they're excited to bring up on Saturday. And everyone gets a space to talk about that topic. And maybe it branches into conversation. And then we go through an itinerary. That could be cool.
So we need to reverse the decrease of amount of people who are attending. So probably shipping some very impressive product and publishing on LinkedIn to promote a little bit would be also a priority.
Yeah. I think that's the goal, is to, once I have the GitHub organized by projects, I want to share a little like, oh, hey, this is what we've done in the last 13 weeks of calls, right? Technically tomorrow, or technically Saturday, is the last scheduled call for the framework calls. So I think my goal will be to share an update of what we did over the last 13 weeks, share the documentation for the framework, the web app that we're building, and also all of the other modules or tools that we think would be really great to create. But again, right, then I go straight into like software again. My mind just goes there because I know that's what the space needs, and that's where my mind goes. Yeah, I don't know. So, Sonia, you have any like suggestions for like what will we share on Saturday?
Yeah, I think we should focus again on design principles and that being the base that's going to feed the evaluation step for the bot and for anything that's going to be added to the framework potentially. Like, I think that's something that was mentioned so many times during the calls, which is, the big why. And we kind of had like semi-productive conversations around that. I think we can be more productive with like a solution that comes out of that, which is the non-negotiable values, um, the primary one being regeneration and what that actually means. And then you added being growth-minded, okay, then what does that entail and how does the bot actually understand that when it's evaluating the input? So I think if we focus on that, I can prepare an exercise for it. That's going to be probably important and pretty much the first step that we are going to be putting in the framework.
Okay, yeah. Mm,
So the result of that would be a manifesto and a set of values, and based on these values, design principles for the framework. And some people might be adding, I think concrete is great, and would do that over like bamboo or whatever. Maybe that's not going to end up in the framework. Or maybe it's going to have a point value next to it for people to actually decide whether it's something that aligns with the main value regeneration and many other things. Yeah, like some people might post research that's gonna promote quality governance models. Like we don't necessarily want that in a regenerative neighborhood framework because we just don't really agree with that.
mm.
Or maybe some people do, but then create your, like dictatorship framework if you want.
Right, right. Yeah, like I'm looking at it as like maybe the next calls can be like again following the Saturday theme of like, okay, we've created this framework. It can be actually applying the framework to the design of a community. Like we're now going to use the framework to design a community. And like we go through the process step by step. I don't know if that's interesting.
I think
Uh,
that's super interesting. I would do that like once we have the framework finalized, because like running it through the framework, what does that actually mean in that situation? And again, I don't think we have a super solid base when it comes to the things that are non-negotiable for us, that are universal for the regenerative framework.
Right. Well, that's my thought is we will never know the things that are missing until we use it and get a plan and go, oh, damn, well, this is missing like this scenario where this person disagrees with this person and this, how do we handle that? The documentation is missing the thing to do that well, potentially, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm gonna think about it and I'm gonna prepare an exercise that we can go through that's gonna
Yeah.
be both productive and also just talking about high level what that framework is. And we still need that because we do need a landing page for the product, and for that landing page we need like opening thoughts and that will actually either hook people or not. And
Okay.
which
That's
is like, oh, is it just
another
like
to
a
do.
collection of any resource ever, or is it collection of resources and tools that are already filtered that will align with people that consider themselves regenerative.
Right. Landing page for the framework tool,
Yeah,
for the framework wizard. I'm calling it the framework wizard
cool.
because it uses the alchemy guide. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good. I put that on the goals one. Okay, cool. All right.
So
I'm
yeah,
also gonna make a. I think I'm gonna make a chat. Like we need to reorganize the Telegram a bit and delete some groups. I think I'd like to make group chat in there called like Saturday community call town hall topics or something, and people can share in their topic, or maybe we just do it with the Genesis bot and we go, hey, add this to the topic for the Saturday call, and on the Saturday call we can bring it up and go through those topics people have shared.
Yeah, I think you're right. We should restructure the Telegram because I myself am confused at times uh as to where I should be putting things. Like I was
Right.
trying to
We
like
do a
put
lot.
something in events and I
Right.
don't really know because we're just kind of like mixing both internal things, people that are actively working on the mission, and then, just gathering people around uh, regeneration, which is like a macro community. So we should definitely restructure that. We need more space also for physical projects, like people that are already building something. I was thinking whether we need like a separate page for them, page meaning topic, or should we have, I guess we should have just one chat for land projects and then people are funneled to the Tribes platform and then, the conversation happens there. Like, how do we handle that? Because we're gonna have, yeah, more land projects happening.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, generally, I feel like the Telegram chat initially was supposed to be a place where people check in that want to contribute to the mission and like grab tasks and get familiar. And the main hub was supposed to be the Tribes platform where people go and start discussion forums. And when there's like a conversation around a project, that's where they get it. And also, resource base is on the Tribes platform, which was still pending to do that. We're pending to extract the database from the Trice platform and feed it somewhere to the default
Yeah.
place where the framework will be living. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done in like both the tech and
I
also
think this
us
is a cool,
organizing.
this is a cool like thing that you're suggesting as well, right? An idea is like, right, it used to be the Tribes platform. We're evolving from that because Tribes platform is antiquated. It would be cool if from the Telegram, um, combos, a dashboard of things being worked on as a landing page. You know, like whatever is happening here, like the GitHub is technically going to be that thing of like, right, using their infrastructure as like, here's Regen Tribe, here's all the things that are going on in there.
Well, we
Here's a
need
little.
a visual representation of that. We need either, yeah, a landing page for all of that, but in general, for another version of the Trice platform, I understand the modules, like the code base lives in GitHub, and then we also need like a usable product that is not a WordPress page like it is right now. It's like an app that people can use. And maybe they just subscribe to different modules and they can stack it as much as they want, right? Like one being the resource base, which is the framework right now, the other one being the network of neighborhoods with profiles and discussion forums, and another one being events, other one being like what Vic was working on and is working on, which is like human connection piece and blah blah blah. Other other things like Stefan's ego hubs.
Hmm.
But we need a
Yeah,
place where people can actually join all of these and they're well described and such.
right. Again, like the GitHub does that.
Yeah,
The
GitHub
GitHub,
pages.
the GitHub page, no, get just our github.com/regen tribes. This should be our like, right, this is like the wiki. This is our documentation source of like things that are happening in the Telegram because that's what people use the most frequently. And as soon as someone's like, okay, this is good, like I'm trying to be better about this now of like, okay, this is a thing as a project that can be created. Genesis, please make a folder in the projects folder and add the README file to it of what this idea is about. And
Well, so
so,
I'm in there right now in the Region Tribes GitHub, and like,
yeah.
yes, it's good. It gives you like a pretty comprehensive overview, but it's not. This is not
So
an
go.
app. This is not a product where people can go and there's a one landing page where you discover what the modules are, and then you can
Well,
actually see.
each folder has those things in it. Now go to the projects folder. right? There's a projects folder inside the Genesis bot. Where is it? It's in
Yeah, there aren't any projects yet. Like there's repositories, there's 5 repositories, but then projects, there's nothing in repositories for people that are not uh technical. Like the visual aspect of this is very off-putting.
I agree. I agree. It's not so pleasant. Let me see. I'm trying to find like what happened to the projects folder now. I can't find it.
I mean, it's there, it's just empty.
It's where? Like I'm here in Regen Tribes.
Just
Oh, it's
on
just a
the on the navigation, I can share my screen.
oh that no. It would be sorry. It would be in the repositories,
Yeah,
right?
repositories are there, but again, it's like
Right.
it
Well, in the repositories, there'll be a folder. Like instead, which should be Regen Tribes, and in Regen Tribes, my goal is that they're out here on the top. I'm going to create a top folder called projects. Like projects being talked about. And in there will be all the idea projects. And when someone's like, oh, I like this one, I'm going to start contributing, or I've built something that has software in it, then that enters like the top level repositories. Right. Just like Vic was the first practice of that, where he was like, okay, here's Mythogen, AME, Mythogen demos, right? Ian helped him push that this morning.
yeah.
But we have a whole nother thing, which I can't find right now, which I thought it was in Genesis Zero Bot. And in there was a folder called projects, but now I can't find it.
Yeah, I don't see anything there. Well, but anyhow, we need a visual representation, like a, tool that just lets people see. Maybe send it
Oh, it's just
time.
branches. There's a master and then there's a main. Oh, is that what's going on?
Also, on this page with gardens, a person actually use JSON file as source of truth, and then render, I assume, from it the entire page on the website that's shared. So there is a button export. So maybe Oscar will try to start a new repository and iterate on data and to put into this repository, and then ask Genesis to create a GitHub page and then link assign some domain, probably domain name to this GitHub page, and to achieve similar like the first link that we have with this gardens. So
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm gonna look through that whole gardens page to like use that as a good kind of guide that we can make as a guide for people to use.
Well,
But
the guide is already there. Like the whole infra page is, you have a step by
right,
step. You don't need to extract anything from the garden page, because that's you're just using that stack.
right, I'm gonna use that as like a reference and be like, oh, cool, this is what people can use to build out their whole thing, and that's a super cool tool, I think, for people to have access to.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, loves, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna go make some food.
Okay, well, I just sent you a link in the chat. So like when you're in Regen Tribes, as a side note, I'm realizing this now. I think that we just saw this in the when you click Genesis Zero Bot, right? You're in the
Yeah,
master branch. And what you
yeah.
need to do is go to the main branch. And in the main branch, there's a folder called projects. And in projects is the documentation for all of the stuff that we have so far, like the framework wizard. And in the framework wizard, you can see like framework wizard project plan that has like some documentation, and then also has a README that has very little content in it. So that's what I'm going to be organizing. And that shouldn't be in the main, it should be in the one that you see. So when people log into GitHub, I get what you're saying about the visual, and like this kind of provides a little bit of a visual of like repositories that are being used and active repositories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you see where the projects thing is?
Yeah, I see it.
Right. And so there, like, imagine if those projects aren't inside a subfolder of a subfolder, but instead like the main one, the framework wizard, that one should be a main repository at the top level of Regen Tribes.
Yeah.
And this should have in it the first page that you open up to the README should be like, hey, this is the executive summary of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, we just need a visual representation, which because the documentation is all there, it's going to be pretty easy to do that.
Right. And like, what is this anti-capture design framework? Eric made this. This is like one of the things that he added, you know, that
I'm afraid it's my angry request, so
it seems interesting.
probably must be ignored. So maybe Oscar could actually come up with something like this website that's initiated and iteratively update it with all of information that will come up. And Stefan showed, Stefan said that one of values delivered by this work could be to make visible all of the existing initiatives, which we have a lot on the Miro board, from Romania project and many more, which I even know about.
Yeah, there's a navigation. Yeah, the screenshot you're sharing. Yeah, it's good. It's good how he logs everything that happens, and there's like a change log happening in real time to show progress and updates. It's really good. It's awesome, right? He's a good product manager, so he knows how to like create that value. It's like second nature for him. It's great.
Yeah, once you go through it, I'm happy to just connect you directly so you can share whatever you want to share. Maybe you guys can jump on a call and then see whether that works out in any way or not.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, you guys. Well, great chat. Vitaly, thank you for joining. We're going to organize a bit so we can start promoting for the next round of calls. You know, it's been 13 weeks of doing every Saturday. So I'm like a little like happy to not have to put on a show for 15 new people every Saturday right now, especially because my mind is more on like building stuff and asking real questions, and hosting people means explaining the same thing over and over again every call for like 20 30 minutes and like entertaining people. And I feel that's like I'd rather use that time with you guys right now to build and get things production ready before I want to take on a whole new round of calls. But it can be a balance of both. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to do that in a way that feels good. So thanks for the feedback. Okay, you guys, happy Thursday. We'll talk soon.
Bye. Bye, Vitaly.